Welcome back to the podcast. My guest today is a second time, I was going to say offender. That's not the right word if you're on the podcast. Honored guest, I guess. Jen Loofbourrow, the founder of Alpine Fit, ran a store in Ireland, worked for Lululemon, degree in chemistry, and then you had some accolades this last summer as a small business owner. Did I see that correctly?
Yeah, thank you. The U.S. Small Business Administration, so it's a federally recognized award, awarded us Women-Owned Small Business of the Year for Alaska. So it's the longest title in the world, but what it means is we have a lovely plaque with our name on it, awarded by the Small Business Administration for the U.S., which is pretty awesome. And what's came from that is Alaska Public Media picking up the story, which then means everyone in Alaska knows about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was it obviously your main goal is to make a really good product, and it is,
Yeah.
they are really good, but as far as validation goes, how did that feel?
It felt really good. Obviously, we were invited to like an award luncheon, and some very important, politicians and things were there. I got personally written nice notes from our senators and things like that too, and recorded messages sent to me. So that was lovely. It's just kind of bizarre to get to get those kind of recognitions because you can work hard on something, put something good out there, and getting feedback from your customers is what you're seeking. And then these awards kind of validated on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe make you kind of stand and go, okay, we do need to stop and smell the roses. Let's celebrate this.
Yeah.
Then let's get back to problem solving the next, product challenge that we're thinking about all the time.
Mm-hmm. As far as products go, my wife and I were up there and we got the base layers. And the thing that I like most about them is they're big enough to where you can wear them outside. So it doesn't look like or feel like you're wearing underwear outside. So you can wear them to work, things like that. But they're also thin enough and light enough that you can use them as a base layer. And then the sorcery with the silver. It's not. I was listening to the Alaska Wild Project, it's not silver infused in it. What was the term that the correct?
Oh yeah, they loved this term over there. Co-extruded.
Co-extruded.
It's just fun to say. Co-extruded. So basically, when they're making one of the yarns that we put in, when the actual yarn is made, silver is co-extruded into the yarn of the fiber of the yarn of the fabric. So it's permanently there. A lot of the other silver technologies or like copper technologies and things you'll read about or hear about on products, they may just be a chemical finish that's applied to the fabric when they're making the fabric. So it is something that's a chemical treatment that can then wash out. Mm-hmm. But with ours, it's permanently in there via this co-extrusion process.
And that is what keeps things from taking on an odor after a long time. When that other stuff can break down, this is permanent.
Yeah, it's permanent. And the silver environment is just not an environment that the odor-causing bacteria can thrive in. So we all have odor-causing bacteria. It's natural, like there's nothing wrong with it. But when you sweat, that moist environment usually supports the growth of that odor-causing bacteria. But silver is just not an environment that can thrive in, so it continually resists its growth and hence resists the body odor smell.
Yeah, my wife and I used ours a lot this summer, and so there's a lot of sweat, and it's super, super warm, maybe a little too much for some of the Alpine when it was like 75, 80 degrees. But as soon as you got up there, though, sometimes you get to the top, and then the wind blows, and all that sweat makes you chilly. But we weren't chilly, and that was a cool thing to be able to get up there and just not have to put a jacket on or anything like that to stay warm. So it was, and then taking it out trolling, I got a little salmon blood on it, and I was very disappointed in myself to get the blood on. But it's an Alaskan adventure ready base layer, so I guess at some point it was going to happen. So
did it wash? It didn't wash out completely.
I didn't. I put it in. I overstocked the washer. And then I put it in the dryer. So it went to the dryer, kind of set it in a little, so you can kind of see a little bit. It looks like my belly button leaked or something like that. It's pretty, it's kind of weird. But
you could try like the old thing of just putting some like clear liquid Dawn dish soap on it and see if that does the trick. Okay. Or sometimes one of those like oxy whatever kind of cleaners
the
can
OxyClean
sometimes
stuff,
help. lift those out.
Yeah.
And then further than that, maybe like the Nature's Miracle pet odor and stain remover
Mm.
kind of is like the last stop you could try.
Yeah. Well, I still wear it unabashedly.
Yeah,
Like it's great.
it's like a
Love
badge
it.
of honor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fish
Yeah,
blood.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I was thinking like all the way back to the kind of beginning thing. I got a buddy who's an entrepreneur and I just started talking to him about initial investment things. And so when I had you on previously, I didn't ask about kind of that first moment. And
Hmm.
you can't just go to a bank and say, "Hey, I want to make some base layers. Can I have $100,000 or whatever?" So, what's that first step looking like, and raise that first capital? Because you can, if you have it yourself, you can do it, or you're asking for investors or banks. Like, how did that first step come and get initial funding?
That's a great question. Well, usually it's a really good idea to hold on to that day job as long as you can. Because, you don't make a lot of money for a long time as an entrepreneur and starting a brand and that sort of stuff. So if you can save up some sort of little nest egg before starting it, that's definitely key. But absolutely, you're not going to go to a bank with a new business idea and be like, hey, give me your money.
Yeah.
I'll pay you back, I promise. I have
Hmm.
this zero track record right here. So yeah, for what that looks like for me was I did have some savings. I don't know if we talked about this before, but I had a business in the past, and kind of it goes into the family household income, but I sold the other business, so I had this little sort of allotment of money that was Jen's business. We obviously
Hmm.
used some money to put a deposit on buying a house and have mortgage payments and then had a job. So like those exact dollars kind of got muddled in the family savings and stuff like that. But when it was time to start Alpine Fit, we kind of like looked at our family finances and we're like, okay, gonna put this sort of dollar figure towards what we're doing. And you do need to have either some personal savings, or maybe you can have a really great relative or something that might be willing to um, you know, help give you a little bit of a jumping off point. Because, yeah, like anything from just even getting a bank loan or even like the supplies you want to use to start the business, like fabrics. Now I have credit terms with my fabric
Hmm.
suppliers. Like I just placed a new order for one of our fabrics we use for our bushwhacking leggings. And, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I was just trying to get my first fabrics to do product development, you've got to pay for everything ahead of when they even make it. Never mind ship it to you, never mind make something from it, never mind sell it. Now I have credit terms set up because I have, the history with them and I got started. But absolutely, it took personal money that was from savings, having a paycheck for a while, and then luckily our, family situation has allowed a little bit of trickle in support from the family finances
Hmm.
at the beginning. And it wasn't until a couple of years in that I applied for a loan successfully.
Hmm. My buddy that was an entrepreneur, he was a teacher first, and it was had the day job, and then it was
Yeah.
a coffee and lifestyle business, and they just put it all on credit cards at first, which was a huge risk because your interest rate is so much higher. But
Scary. Yeah.
yeah, there was an event that went with it, and so the event went really well, and then
Yeah.
met people, and then all of a sudden it expanded. So I don't think he had to take on any sort of private investors too. But now he's on the other end of that, and he's looking for other business opportunities to do private investing. I was like, oh, that's kind of like a venture capitalist. Like now I kind of know
Yeah.
what that is and what value that brings because they tend to be used in the context of just some shark type person looking to prey
Oh, yeah.
on
Like,
smaller businesses.
yeah. And that's true. So, yeah, to add in other things, there are grants for new businesses you can apply to. I did some business pitch competitions. I won like $4,000 from a business plan, the Alaska Business Plan competition at the beginning. That was a nice chunk of
Mm.
change for some of the like initial startup costs, but that's pennies in the bucket of what it takes to actually start a business. So, yeah, there's venture capitalist investors, which we haven't sought. And then there's other types of investors like angel investors, which are kind of that's a term that I don't actually know how to like quote what the definition of it is. But in Alaska, I'm familiar with very many small businesses that before they go down like the venture capital route, They might do like a smaller, more local investment round with local investors that are maybe smaller amounts. It's not like a venture capital fund. It's private people deciding to put in $10,000, $50,000, whatever it might be that contributes to the chunk of change that business needs to get going. But yeah, you usually need to have like started the business, have some sort of traction gained, have a really good plan, a team in place, and like a pitch to prove all to demonstrate to these people, just as if it was like Shark Tank or a venture capital firm. So I actually have many friends in small businesses in Alaska that have pursued that, and there are people in Alaska that love to invest in small Alaska businesses, the hope that they become much bigger Alaska businesses. So that's definitely a path, but you usually have to have started somehow, some way first.
Yeah, that was this different side of it is making so much more sense to me. I've seen a couple businesses in the outdoor realm that have, like, you can order the tent or pre-order the knife or pre-order the whatever, and you don't get it for like 6 months. I'm thinking, well, that's so annoying. Like, you either have the stuff or you don't. But then I'm like, oh, you need money to do it in the first place. So that makes sense. And then also when
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter, those sort of things that are allowing people to kind of generate that revenue first, because you have to have that in order to do it, especially if it's going to be a good product. And then the other piece is having enough capital to expand. Whenever I know when Sitka got bought by Gore, I was like, oh, sellouts. And then Stone Glacier being bought by Vista. But if you don't understand the fact that you might have a great product and a great model, but you still don't have the capacity to expand, like you're still very limited, like you're making money, maybe you can give yourself a paycheck and take on a couple employees, but that's just to manage the workload. In order to really expand, you need capital. And so you have to, it's not a sellout, it's a good opportunity to be able to expand.
Yeah, that's definitely like a reality.
From billion-dollar ad budgets and arena naming rights to tens of thousands of retail locations, big wireless providers spend big to appear like they're your only option. How do they afford it all? That big bill you get at the end of every month. Mint Mobile had a different idea. Instead of brick and mortar overhead, Mint Mobile is online only. What does that mean for you? A whole lot of savings, because wireless plans from Mint Mobile start at just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You'll save enough that you can get a brand new rod and reel for the upcoming season. For anyone who just hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan, and you can even keep your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. By going online only and eliminating traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes significant savings on to you. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That's mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
In my industry, like, it's different in food, it's different in hard goods, but in my industry, the normal thing is to take orders that are not with a financial commitment, like like you're selling to wholesale to stores that are going to resell your stuff. So you take the order now for fall 2024. So you take the order and you're like, I have this promise for dollars to pay 12 months from now. I'm going to spend my own money or my loan, or, and not in our case, but in the case of someone who has outside investors, I need that money from the investors and I need to commit to buying all this fabric now. And maybe I pay for it now, or maybe I have 30 or 60-day terms with the supplier for the fabric. Then I've got to make all the stuff. And then I deliver it to the customers and then invoice them, and then they pay 30 days after that. So, you're putting some money, promise to pay your bills out now, and you might not collect on that until like November, December of next year. So, we're on a 30-year plan of small, steady growth. But if you want it to be shorter than that, you need to, take way more of those orders now, spend way more cash buying those raw materials now so that you can fulfill those bigger orders and then sustain like a steeper growth curve faster.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a conscious choice where I'm at to just be self-funded, bootstrapped, and us outside the business loan that I have, just be personally funded and be okay with that.
Yeah.
But we don't have a million different products or a huge marketing budget because we just can't.
Right. As far as buying in bulk goes, I know Jack did the same thing with Double Shovel, when rather than buy the small, most affordable tanks, they went big with the tanks. That way they could, as they grew, they already had the stuff and didn't have to really turn everything over again. And again, all this stuff it was just like a fact, but as I'm just learning more, I'm thinking, that's why. And that makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah.
But
so for us, we, obviously a bigger facility with a longer cutting table and more machines and more people to operate them, we could have a higher capacity here. But what we have built in was working with scalable suppliers from the get-go. So the supplier I developed, the silver fiber fabric we were speaking of, that's a supplier that I'm working directly with the mill that makes it. It's in California, so it's in the US. And they can make, I can pay a worse price and get like the 50 yards I needed when I first started developing the first prototypes. And now we're at the place where we're ordering full production lots, obviously. So we're getting, better negotiated prices and things like that. But when we need to scale from, 5,000 yards up to 50,000 yards and beyond, we can do that with them. So I do think that it's important to put the scalability built in from the get-go.
So you got a degree in chemistry. Is that hugely beneficial, partially beneficial?
It got my foot in the door to working in the materials world for sure. And it just helped me understand the technical properties of things. So the foundation of our collection and my company is really cool technical fabrics. Without the chemistry that led me to textiles, that is the foundation of what we do. So I wouldn't say I call on my chemistry every day, but it gave me it was some of the keys that opened the doors to this path. Yeah.
I talked to a lot of my students about the fact that if they know what they want to do right now as juniors or sophomores, even freshmen, they'll probably change their mind. And if they don't know, it's okay, because a degree in chemistry could lead you to something else. And so it's not the chemistry, it's the tenacity you learn in the pursuit of that. It ends up being the valuable skill that can allow you to pivot to something else. And that's kind of the main point. There's so many examples out there for those kids. So I like to be able to be a little bit more relatable by having these conversations with people who are actually doing the thing.
Yeah. I mean, had I known that there was some sort of, maybe a program, I'm not sure what would be the most ideal program in Canada. Again, I grew up in Canada, so you guys have 10 times the population that we have. So it's, I live in the US now. I'm aware of many more educational programs that might have been very much more relevant to what career I would choose to go on. But I didn't know what they were or how to even find out about them coming out of high school. I was just like, art or science? I guess science will give me a better job. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that ends up being really relatable too. So you go down something else, but if someone who goes to school to become a teacher might not know some of the other backgrounds or stuff, or goes to school to be, a chemist, or just whatever. It's very nice to find complementary things there. And that's the valuable asset that you have going forward.
Absolutely. And the scientific method and problem solving, that's my number one favorite thing is problem solving. And I definitely attribute my success in problem solving to kind of having a foundation of there are problems out there. What are the possible... Now I'm talking to a teacher and I'm getting all self-conscious. What are the steps of the scientific method?
It's a high school English teacher. So yeah, the bar is nice and low here. So don't worry about anything. Definitely not a professor My brother calls me Professor Lund, but in a mocking way that an older sibling would say it.
Oh,
Well,
that's funny.
so you got summer coming, or you got summer's over with. You got winter coming up. So what is kind of like the gear pairings? Like, what do you have, and what do you use it for? Because I'm sure that there's some things you have looking forward to as things are getting. You guys already get snow up there yet?
Oh, hey, do you know what's happening right now? If you have any air miles saved up with Alaska Airlines, it might be worth a trip to Anchorage this weekend because, check the weather. But the Alpine lakes have all frozen and we've had very low precipitation. So it is the most glorious wild ice skating right now. I'm not sure when this episode will air versus when we're recording it, but
It'll be pretty quick.
just for you personally, like it is unbelievable. I'll get back to the pairings of gear, but right now people are hiking, biking. I mean, people, including me, hiking and biking and Nordic skating or just like hockey skate, ice skating in Anchorage. And we haven't had really any snow that has fallen and stayed, and the ground is pretty dry and frozen. It's really awesome right now for extending those fall activities and transitioning into some winter-esque activities, but not the ones that need snow. So like on Saturday, we hiked into Rabbit Lake, which is, 4 miles from the trailhead right near Anchorage. And Rabbit Lake itself is frozen and like glass clear. It's almost as if someone has placed like a snorkel mask against the water. You can see fish under the ice in the water and freezing cold. So the gear pairings are an Alpine Fit base layer, of course, such as the one you have, and at least 1 or 2 down jackets on top of it.
Oh, okay.
Like 40-mile-an-hour wind, or a 40-mile-an-hour wind or more, gusting katabatic winds off the mountain, polishing this lake. So you're just hiking into a headwind the whole time. So like you need the neck gaiter, the hat. If you're going to skate, obviously you should probably wear a helmet too. And we're not wearing snow pants because it's not really snowy at all yet. But, a base layer bottoms like ours and, a windproof bottom, outer layer of some sort, like a Nordic skiing tight or something like that. That's the kit right now because it's just kind of cold, but not snowy, not wet.
When do you think that's going to change?
Usually, what's usual? The last 2 years, we've already had a lot of snow by now. So it's kind of like that in-between season where you're like, do I go for a hike and it's just wet and I need gaiters? Is there going to be anywhere that's good for, if I drive to higher elevation, can I cross-country ski, even if it's just like off-trail fish scale skiing? Certainly right now is sometimes a good biking season, like fat biking season could start with the studded tires and things like that. And again, those outfits are, the gear, the kit is still pretty much the same. The down jackets was just the howling wind on the ice. But like right now you'd normally wear base layer and maybe a soft shell jacket if you're doing something where you're actually building up some sweat, neck gaiter, and a headband or a hat. Base layer bottoms with maybe a hiking pant over top, or base layer bottoms with like our bushwhacking leggings over top, or like a Nordic tight, wool socks, and then whatever footwear is relevant to your activity of choice, and definitely gloves or mittens.
Are you working toward having the full kit at some point, or is that so far in the future you're not really sure? Because as someone who actually uses the product, and like I said, these are Alaska ready and adventure ready.
Yeah,
you can't just overextend because that's death to a business if you get too far ahead of yourself. But is that maybe the goal down the road, is to have the full kit?
I don't know how long it would be in the future before we would ever have outerwear. My focus really wants to be I really want my focus to be the pieces that really truly can be used for many use cases. So something you already said in this conversation was that shirt that you have is great, and it was good even in the Alpine, but it got kind of hot in the really hot moments before you're maybe in the wind or something like that again. The next fabric that I'm developing will be a really lightweight version of our silver fiber odor resistant fabric, so we can do sun hoodies in something that's like truly what you want to be wearing in a really sunny situation. And that fabric will also be good for tank tops or lighter weight t-shirts for men, or sleeveless shirts for men for hiking. And I'm in the workshop right now, and across my work table, I can see my prototypes of a really thick fleece, windproof, water repellent legging base layer bottom. That's definitely
Nice.
next part of the kit, because whether you're Nordic skiing, running, biking, layering it under your snow pants or whatever, that could be a really, really versatile winter piece, especially for Alaska adventures. And our men's base layer bottoms, we made men's base layer bottoms for a while, and then I haven't gotten back around to either making them again or doing the small updates that I'd like to do to the design to those. We had some diehard fans of our men's base layer bottoms, but we haven't made them in a while. So we either need to make them again or I need to make the improvements, which is obviously my preference, and make them again. Because the men's kit is very incomplete in terms of the products we offer right now. So yeah, I'm always thinking about what are the most logical extensions. Mid layers would definitely be next. It would be a long time before we're doing like a rain jacket or an outer layer.
That's a lot of different tech, and then some of the
It's
stuff
different.
you go from brand to brand, and it's pretty much the same thing with a different logo. Like as far as like really revolutionary type things come around every once in a while, like the technology is expanding very rapidly. Before it was just like wool, and then it was
Yeah.
your other layers, and then you had your vapor wicking, and then your merino wool was
Yeah.
really popular and whatnot. Now we're getting
Yeah.
some different stuff, but to really revolutionize things, it takes some time, and otherwise you're just like everybody else. And what's the difference between you and someone else? So it's cool that you're looking to kind of do something different rather than just slap your name on what already exists.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's a huge opportunity in that winter could be next to skin / mid layer fleecy bottoms, like something that's truly really, really thick and insulating, really Alaska centric.
So you grew up in Eastern Canada, right? What
Yeah, where we think of it as the middle of Canada, but on the map it's
middle?
definitely the easterny.
Why do you say middle, or what constitutes what's the boundary there?
It's just kind of to the capital of the country is in the same province that I'm from, and we think of out west and out east from where I grew up, and just like the whole country revolves around the part of Canada that I'm from. It's
Gotcha.
kind of like just like one of those Canadianism things. But yeah,
Gotcha.
Ontario, Canada, near the Great Lakes, near Niagara Falls.
hmm So what were your winters like there compared to Alaska? 'Cause some people think that Canada, Alaska, it's all synonymous weather-wise, and I guess cultural wise is pretty different too. But what were the winters like there?
They were lake effect snow, so we got a lot of precipitation and a lot of snow. Because the Great Lakes, there's a lot of evaporative moisture stuff happening there. So decent snowy winters. We would be able to ice skate on ponds, or my dad would with our sort of neighbor would flood part of our yard with an ice rink like for 2 months of the winter, not 4 months consistently like we have here in Anchorage. And I would say it's just not as extreme. The roads, you'd have a little bit more of the melt freeze cycle and stuff. I don't know what Ketchikan winters are like, but I imagine the difference between Ketchikan to Anchorage and Anchorage to Fairbanks, you know, it wasn't as wet as maybe what I imagine Southeast to be. I've been to Juneau in the winter, but not Ketchikan.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more similar to that. Like you have the moisture from the lakes, like you guys have the moisture from the coast.
hmm Yeah, we tons of rain, tons of rain. It's a lot more like when everyone's up there doing the fat biking stuff and the ice skating. Like
Yeah,
we're usually down here and it's 37 and raining. The only
yeah.
ice we have is the black ice on the roads on the way to work. So it's super annoying. There's nothing cool at all about that.
Yeah. So I would say it equipped me okay to move to Alaska, or at least I knew that I loved, I love winter stuff and dressing for winter and driving in the winter, like all of that. It's easier to drive in Anchorage despite how ridiculous our roads get. Um,
Yeah.
because the snow just never melts and the ice also never melts. But yeah, I don't know, sort of well equipped. A mini Alaska, not really.
Did you growing up there kind of help you understand something that ended up being useful in your current career?
Where I want to live and the activities I want to do and what I don't want to do. Yeah, so I used to go up north to a little off-grid cabin with my grandparents, and that was my favorite thing of the whole summer. Is 2 weeks alone with the grandparents doing nothing but hiking in the woods, fishing and swimming in the lake, and all that sort of stuff. So definitely my love of the outdoors and, packing for a trip spent in the outdoors, all are building blocks to where I live and what I've chosen to do and what I do with my kids and stuff like that.
Yeah. I remember going to the river and there was pictures of me doing this. Actually, I don't really remember. I remember going to the river, but I look at the
Yeah.
pictures more and I'm thinking, those are just regular jeans. I'm
Yeah.
up to my waist in regular jeans at the river and extra tough
Yeah.
boots. Like, why did I even bother wearing boots? And I do remember at some point my boots would get wet every time I went out. So I was like, well, if they're going to get wet, I might as well have better traction and better ankle support. So I just wear tennis
Yeah.
shoes, knowing I get
Yeah.
them soaked. And I thought, man, I was like a little heater or something like that. I don't know, or I was just hardcore, but man, it was crazy. And that's the thing I think most of. Forget the fish that are in the picture. I was like, dude, what are you wearing? Good for
Yeah.
you. There's no tech
Good
there
for
at
you.
all. Man.
What's funny is that there's times when we actually put our kids in jeans because they are durable and protective for little kids' legs because they fall over all of the time.
Yeah.
So like, it's not very Jonesy to be the show up with your outdoorsy friends and have your kids being in jeans, but it's like for a long time for very easy kid-paced hikes or bike rides, it's like jeans are actually going to protect the kids the best.
Hmm.
But they weren't wading in the water.
Yeah. I remember we were like a mile from the river. So I just ride my Huffy to
Yeah.
the river, ditch the bike there, and it was so fun. And I remember having a couple patches on the jeans, either because my brother wore 'em and then I wore 'em or whatever that went. But
Yeah.
um yeah, now that even the jeans now, like if you're buying a jean that doesn't have some spandex or something like that,
Yeah.
something else to make it a little bit stretchy, then what are you doing? You don't have to live like that anymore. You're just the straight up Wranglers. What are you doing?
Like walking like a cowboy.
Exactly, exactly. I think back to the hunters and the people, the explorers and the hunters of the 40s, 50s, 60s, and
Yeah.
it's crazy just to see how low tech it was and how it was just that's just all you had. And now it's
Yeah.
nice to have all these great things that available to us. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty. Two things that makes me think of is one time I was in Denver for a trade show, and I had the opportunity to do like a day trip somewhere else. And instead of going to really cool Boulder, Colorado, which maybe makes more sense to check out, I went to Golden, Colorado to go to the museum. The is it the American Alpine Institute museum there because I wanted to like look at the old clothing they had
Mm,
on display from like the early ascents of Everest and stuff like that.
nice. That's in Golden.
There's a cool, I'm trying to remember what the exact correct name of it is, but in Golden, Colorado, there's a really cool museum, at least for
Hmm.
an outdoor gear nerd like me.
I remember
And
Golden
then,
as oh yeah, it's the American Mountaineering Museum.
there you go. Yeah.
Huh. There's a brewery there. I think that's where Coors is or something
Yeah,
like that. That's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
what
That's what the whole town seems to be about. I had no idea that chorus was from there. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
yeah, a side note is
Side
the
note.
big thing. Yeah. We went up there. I think Black Hawk is around there somewhere. There's a casino. My parents went there once. I think it's in that area. But I
Okay.
was born in Colorado and I've been back there for a couple summers and that seems like a a good, I don't know, future venue or something like that? Are you looking at other areas where you can expand outside of the state, or is it mostly just Alaska? Because if anywhere, like Colorado would seem like the type of people who would just eat this stuff up.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we expanded to like small independent retailers a little bit before COVID and then sort of have dialed that back. And we're kind of dabbling in expanding to sell through retailers again. And one of our first ones out of state before COVID was in Colorado, in Crested Butte, Colorado. Um, a little cute shop called Chopwood Mercantile. And yeah, they ordered and ordered again and ordered again. So I guess there was demand there, and maybe
Nice.
we'll rekindle that and reach back out soon, because I think those kind of next growth steps are back on the horizon.
Hmm. My wife and I did a little, is it called skinning when you put the skins on your skis and you go
Yep,
touring or one of
yep,
those? I don't know. I want to
yep.
get the language
But
wrong, but
those were
uh,
both correct uses of that.
oh, either one. Okay, good.
Yeah,
It's not like a
yeah.
regional thing, like, oh, he must be from Alaska if he's using that term. Into a yurt, which is pretty sweet, and then stayed there for a couple nights, and then
Oh, nice.
toured back out. So yeah, there's the Colorado that I can remember growing up, or not. I'd go back every summer, so it was kind of the hot Front Range area, Greeley,
Okay,
Denver,
okay.
Estes Park. But it's cool to kind of see it during the winter, and there's a lot of outdoor opportunities. It's a pretty sweet place, but I would never want to live there again.
Yeah, I mean, I've just heard the stats of like how rapidly the population is growing in all those areas there. And I like, I'm choosing Alaska as my home for a
Yeah,
reason.
yeah. Is there a benefit to stay? Obviously, it's Alaska legit, but there you see a lot of outdoor companies end up moving to places that make it a little bit easier to expand. Bozeman is, huge in the outdoor industry, and that's kind of the
Hmm.
if you want to be a country singer, you go to Nashville. If you want to be an actor, you go to Hollywood. If you want to be in the
Yeah,
outdoor industry, you go to Bozeman. Is there a temptation to kind of uproot and move for the sake of the business?
that's a great question. Like, no, I want to live here.
Good question, but clearly no.
Like if I could see a possibility where, because we have our own manufacturing facility here in Anchorage, and we have a little store here in Anchorage, and um, that aligns really well with the values of like bringing fabrics here and making many different products from several different fabrics that we have, and we sell a lot of them to the Anchorage and Alaska market in quotes. I could see maybe if we expanded into really establishing a customer base, yeah, in Montana or Colorado, some sort of version of having like opening our own regional manufacturing facility such that you're like reducing your carbon footprint and manufacturing is happening closer to where the products are being consumed, to use like the business terms. I could see something like that. But as far as like a place that I want to live and work, I'm not sure where else that would be.
Mhm. Another
I
big
mean, I'd be
element of
happy
it.
to visit places, but
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing I love about Ketchikan is that I mean it is rainy and miserable, but that keeps the population low. And then by having an airport here, like we can fly out so quickly. We can spend a weekend in
hmm,
Seattle if we wanted to. Not that we want to, but we could go down this real quickly. There's some areas you have more people in the Wasilla Palmer area, but it might be kind of a hassle to drive all the way into Anchorage to get to the airport and fly out. So having the airport right here is pretty
yeah,
nice.
yeah. And we live on the edge of town here in Anchorage, and Anchorage is the most busy, densest, not real Alaska place. There's whatever you guys say outside of Anchorage.
Yeah.
Um, but we do have that international airport right there, and I live on the side of the town that I can get into the mountains right there,
Hmm. Nice.
and it's pretty magical to have like city like amenities, travel at your fingertips, and then the backcountry access at your fingertips, and then the
Hmm.
ease of flying down to like I'm going to go to Juneau in November. We went in June last year, and other places like getting up north into the Brooks Range and stuff is all possible from here.
Hmm.
The other thing that I think on the question you asked is that I think that there's a cool what other places are doing are really incentivizing brands and businesses to establish, especially things that have domestic manufacturing. They're really doing a lot to establish and attract businesses to move to their cities. With whatever programs in place to establish manufacturing, good rent rates, probably tax incentives and things like that, like the things you hear about, Amazon gets when Amazon decides to move somewhere. I think that there's a huge opportunity to recognize that here is a great place to live. There's a lot of land here, and with the way people, so many people, there's an opportunity for us to do a lot more with supporting development of manufacturing and other innovation type businesses here. And hopefully being here, I can contribute to that.
You talk a lot about making the most of the opportunities that you have there recreationally. It can
Yeah.
happen to anybody, but there's this idea, or there's people who talk about things they used to do before work took over, or before their business took over, before everything else. So how important is it to maintain that life away from work and relationship with the family and going out and being in the mountains with the family? How important is that to making sure that when you show up to work, you can be more effective?
It's super important. I mean, well, it's a huge benefit of living here without having long commute times and having like the schools your kids need to go to, the place you want to do your work, and the place you want to recreate, all basically a stone's throw from one another. It allows you to be able to do that. And for me, and the types of products and the type of business that I have, I mean, it's essential for my mental health. It's also essential for like the authenticity of what I'm doing, or even the ability to do what I'm doing. You know, like we sewed up a new t-shirt prototype and I instantly need to be wearing it to go do whatever thing. I'm going to be making some new long sleeve or new fleece legging prototypes and stuff like that. Like it's my whole life combined into one, and one piece doesn't work without the other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can leave work at whatever time to make sure that I go do the things I need to do with my kids in the evening after school or whatever. And I can be at home until the minute that they take the bus to school, but like they take the bus to school at just the right time for me to leave and get to the workshop in time. And then also like we can flip a switch and be, you know, hiking together into Rabbit Lake to go ice skating on a Saturday after having worked a really hard long week at the workshop. You know, it's all part of it. It's essential. One can't exist without the other, and it can exist here.
Nice.
That's the way we're doing things.
What's your hourly? How many hours do you put in weekly?
Oh,
And then how does that compare to when you were first starting?
Too many. It's probably the same. Like literally, it could be very easy for me to end up cumulatively have working at least 10 hours a day, if not 12, sometimes 14. And there are pauses and breaks and dealing with personal stuff in between that. Like it might be, oh crap, kiddo forgot their music instrument for their orchestra class, whatever it is that they're doing at school. And you've got to drop it and run there. And that's like one flexibility of being an entrepreneur. But then it's like, oh, I still need to get that email marketing campaign out. So I'm going to stay up another 30 minutes because of that family essential, you know, sidetrack there in between. Yeah, it's full on all the time. I don't think your mind ever truly switches off. But I've really trained my mind to switch off when I'm like doing something outdoors with the family or alone or like on a trip.
Right. Yeah, the people who are most successful and that make the entrepreneurship world seem so fun are the people who like they're amped because of it. It doesn't seem
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know, they say, you know, if you're following your passion, you don't work a day of, you know, whatever that the cliche
Yeah.
saying is about
Yeah.
you never work
Yeah.
a day, but it's good to feel that productivity and that purpose and watching people who are enthusiastically pursuing it. That's what gets them amped rather than they get amped afterwards. So it's pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, like literally am so excited to work on it all the time, and I have to switch on and switch off sometimes because then you don't do work stuff well if you're distracted by family, and you don't do family stuff well if you're distracted by work.
Right.
So you do really need to figure out how to like kind of turn those levers in your brain. But could I work on it all day, every day, all night? Yes.
Nice.
Sometimes I crash and really need a break on the couch under a blanket, but
Yeah, that happens. That's normal. So what do you got for closing thoughts here? Where can we find you, order stuff? You got there's Black Friday's coming up in a couple of weeks. So what's your sales pitch?
Oh, okay. Well, you can visit us at alpinefit.com, on social media at alpinefitco. We're going to be at a few events in the Anchorage and Wasilla, Palmer areas and Juneau coming up. So the Vintage Markets in Palmer, the Matsu Holiday Marketplace this weekend in Wasilla, And well, again, I don't know when this is going to air, but
We'll go tomorrow. We'll go tomorrow
okay,
so you
yeah.
can preview all that.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, November, our events calendar is on our website at alpinefit.com. And we'll also be in Juneau the weekend of Thanksgiving. So we'll kind of be around various places, but feel free to reach out by phone or email if you have any questions. And I didn't get a chance to mention that I got a really lovely package. Finally, I was away for a bit last week, and I have an awesome package I finally got to open this morning. And I noticed you signed the books. Thank you.
Yeah, sign the books. Gotta sign the books. Thanks for your order. I appreciate that. It was nice to see that there.
I was away for a bit and didn't get it until today because I was out of the office here and there. But I'm really excited to dive in, and I'm sorry I didn't read some of them before seeing you again today. But next time we chat, I will have.
No, that's fine. It's the writing thing is so. Whenever kids start talking about the fact that I've written anything, I just say, Mr. Lund, can we read your book as the outside reading book? Absolutely not. Zero chance of that. No, cannot do it. It's kind of a weird. I know, just something. I don't know. It's weird, but I appreciate the support. It's fun to kind of see the product come to fruition, even if it's words or T-shirts, base layer, whatever. It's cool to kind of be around like-minded people. So even though there's other people in different entrepreneurships, I kind of get motivated, get some extra juice from the Alaska Wild Project guys, and see other people who are just getting after it and being creative. It's fun because it's not in the exact same realm. But just the Alaska voice, the Alaska business, you and Sagebrush Dry Goods, and all these other Alaska people who are really getting after it. It's really fun and motivating to keep putting product forward and tell the Alaska story.
Yeah, well, I thank you so much for chatting these couple of times, and I'm stoked that you've enjoyed wearing your Alpine Fit base layers. And thanks so much. It's awesome to be connected and be part of a community together with you. So
yeah, appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks.